Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending upon where in the world you are. Welcome, everybody. This is episode number 45 of Run It Back. I'm your host, Menelik Fernandez. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening or watching in at a later time. I appreciate. I start every episode the same as I say, so I will start it the same again. The premise of Run It Back remains the same. Basically, we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak, where we go through the preparation for the game. We go through the changes we made during the game. We go through, matchups. We go through the scout, all that fun stuff. And we take a look at some of the clips and have a video session. And we've been most fortunate for quite some time now to have coaches from the game that is the game in question join us. So today we're taking a venture over to South Korea, and we're taking a look at KCC versus Mobis. The game took place this year. This is actually during the pandemic. This is one of the few games that we've had on Run It Back that have happened in recent times. The game was on March 3rd of 2021, and we're most fortunate to have Coach Tyler Gatlin joining us. Ty, give me a second. I'm going to try my best to give you a little bit of an introduction here and do you justice with it. This is Coach Gatlin's first season at KCC as on the coaching staff. I know you've done some scouting and some preparation with them prior to that. He spent 2 seasons with the Stockton Kings as both an associate head coach and an assistant coach. Spent 3 years with the Bakersfield Jam and Northern Arizona Suns. They switched names if I'm not mistaken in there, as an assistant coach. 2 years as a head coach with the Dallas Vandals, which were an ABA association, an ABA group, and 1 year as an assistant coach with the North Dallas Vandals, 4 years as an assistant coach with the Texas Legends in the G League, 1 season as a GM with the Dallas Impact in the ABA. So, I mean, you, sir, are a veteran of professional basketball at this time, and I am really enthused and happy to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us, especially as I will mention to all the viewers, you are in a very different time zone than we are here right now. So you're tomorrow for us, basically. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, kamsahamnida. It's Tuesday morning here in Korea. We're getting ready for another good day. We got practice and getting prepared for a week. So we actually play Mobis again. That's our next game
Oh,
on
that's
Saturday. And so it's going to be a battle. We're the top 1 and 2 teams in the league, and it's there's some standing implications on the line, and we're heading into the last round, so the 6th round of the season, and we'll kind of get into how it works with the scouting and all that. But yeah, it's a big week. We're really focused out here.
Well, thank you so much for joining us during your season. I know sometimes time can be a real constraint for coaches, so really appreciate that. I definitely want to get into the planning of the game, but just because you're international and most of my viewers slash watchers are, North American based, give us a little bit of a rundown of the Korean League, like what the structure of it is over there, and how many teams and how many different pro levels there are, if there are. Like, just give us a little bit of background if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's a really cool league. There's 10 teams. Each team is owned and operated by a major corporation. So like Hyundai Mobis, Samsung, LG, KT. We're KCC, which is like an industrial company making auto parts, things like this. Um, and, they really invest a lot into their basketball programs. The coaches are, really top notch, high level. The players all domestic, Korean players with 2 import players, which are typically Americans, big men. The league always changes the rules every couple years based on who the commissioner is at that time, and each team. It's kind of like a rotating opportunity for the team general manager to be the commissioner of the league, and then they'll vote on rule changes and things like this. So, for example, 3 years ago, there was a limit on one player had to be 6'4" or like 192 centimeters, and one player could be, one over 201. So you had like a guard and a big, more or
Right.
less. And now there's no height restriction. Same with, like, there used to be a draft where every summer the KBL would host an event in Las Vegas with about 200, 250 players scrimmaging for 2-3 days, and all the teams scouting live in person. And then we would go to a hotel casino and have a big draft where every team selects 2 players. And that was how you added your imports. Now it's a free agent market. So you can sign and bring in players uh, with no salary cap throughout the whole world. There is kind of a salary cap, but it's a soft cap. You can get into like the luxury tax and pay kind of a premium if you sign a premium player.
Wow, this is
And
big time. I love it.
so it's pretty cool. It's always interesting. Fortunate enough to scout for KCC for several years and kind of help with that process. So it was really a smooth transition coming over here and seeing the guys that I get to see every year on the scouting circuit anyway, when they would come to events like the PIT and the Summer League. And yeah, so we connected really good on that. And we do have a D League. They call it the D League over here. So every team's roster is about 20 players. The draft happens right in the middle of the season, your rookie draft. So you add 3 rookies and you have 12 active players. So there's 8 players left over from each team that participate in the KBL D League. And same thing with the D League. It gets the televised coverage. The games are good. They're intense, well coached. And that is kind of a good platform to try some things. We've been able to use some of these concepts taken from the G League, from the NBA, practice drills, things like that, to implement with our D League and see what sticks, see what the big club likes, what carries over, and because that's always kind of the testing ground. We're a little bit, like this is the way it's been, and that's kind of how it is in Korea. You stick to what's traditional.
Right.
The basketball is kind of really ground and pound, play inside out, and control the pace, in these type of ways. So yeah, use the D League to do some early offensive stuff, some continuity drills in practice, and get the guys running and gunning. And some of it does transfer well to our team now.
Love it. So I think that's a perfect natural segue to get into the particulars of this game. So I mean, you're coming off 2 days earlier. You had a win to I couldn't really fully see from the logo. It looked like the team's name was Proni, Pro.
Yeah, Dongbu. Yep, DB.
And I mean, so like, let's talk about scouting and preparation for this game. Had you played this team prior in the season? If not, how many out are you watching? What goes in your scout? What does the process look like for you overall?
Yeah, no doubt. So that was the round 5 game. There's 6 rounds in the season and 9 games per round. So you play every team 6 times throughout the year. And at the early on, the first 2 rounds, the scouts are very, get a fully encompassing look on the team. Really do a deep dive into what they do, their personnel, their tendencies, how they're playing, and really break it down. Offensive keys to the game, defensive keys to the game, intangible keys to the game. And what I was presenting to the coaching staff was very similar to what we would do in the G League. Which in the G League it more or less kind of mirrors an NBA scout. It can not be as detailed, but you try to keep some synergy with how your NBA club does their scouts. So that was my presentation, and doing it for every team. Just diving in, focusing, trying to learn the league, trying to get an idea of especially the imports that the teams have, because local players, they know everybody, really, really familiar with everybody's game in the league. Nobody's going to fly under the radar like, oh, where did that guy come from?
Right.
They're really on top of the local talent here. And go from there, rounds 3 and 4, kind of take a step back and hammer home bullet points. This is KCC's, key to, well, step back. This is what Mobis does well on offense. This is what their limitations are on offense. This is what we have to do on defense. And same thing on the other side of the ball. This is how Mobis does well on defense. This is where they're vulnerable on defense. This is what KCC has to do on offense. So that was 3 and 4 rounds, kind of present that for every game. Then you get into the 5th round, 5th time you're playing the team. We kind of made it more like a visual. I think make kind of a pie chart. This is their offense efficiency. This is the style, not necessarily plays, but they play a lot in transition. They play off of cuts. Mobis moves the ball really well, so they do get a lot of back cuts. They get, a little bit of post up, pick and pop. And then same thing defensively, this is kind of where they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable inside. And yeah, make it more of just here. This is a visual that the coaching staff can see and look at. But by now we're really familiar with this team. It's kind of our top rival, and we're ready to go. It's kind of a battle of wills at that point. So go into it from my end. That's what I'm presenting, and then obviously coach has his idea. This is how we're going to play. This is what we're going to work on in practice. This is what we're going to talk about pregame, and then we go out and play.
So your description is great. Thank you. I have several questions based upon it. So first, I would assume that there is also a paper scout, not just video or whatever from what you're talking about. And the length of that would shrink throughout the season because obviously they've got a lot of background with these teams as you move along. What sticks out as more pertinent information to you for the paper? And then I would also assume that there's video added in there. How long would video be? And are you giving it only to your head coach and then he's doing things to give to the guys? Or are you giving it directly to the guys? Hey, James, you're going to be guarding this particular player. So you need to be doing XYZ type deal.
Right. So it's really interesting. We have a video coordinator scout, kind of an advanced scout role, a really sharp guy. And he diagrams on fast draw the plays of our opponent, and really detailed, pretty much every set that they're going to run in the half court, sideline, and baseline, and staples it. I got one over there, but staples it and gives it to each player and every coach. So every player has a copy of the plays, but we don't distribute any paper material to the guys going into the games. It's all going to be verbal. And video wise, this was new. We just watch a full game, whether it was our game against that opponent or a recent game that opponent plays. Everybody sits in the video room. It's totally silent. And we watch that team from the tip off until the game finishes. And that's it. That's what we're going to do. Yeah.
I've actually never heard that one prior. So for me, my past season, and I found that through doing this show a lot, maybe I need to adjust this because it doesn't seem to be the norm, but I found we would have a 1 hour video session per week. And then in addition to that, I would give small clips to my guys for the approaching game. But I found most of my guys didn't have the attention span to sit through an entire hour. What do you find with your guys in terms of, does it matter that you're choosing the right game in order for them to focus or do they just seem to have the ability to do it and it's okay?
Yeah, you'd be surprised with the focus level here. It's really sharp. So everybody's sitting, full attention, watching this game. No side commentary, no wandering eyes. They're locked in. The imports, yeah, you can tell they're getting, and even me, I'm kind of getting a little fidgety, kind of moving around, like, looking, surveying the room. But that's how we do it. And coach will talk at the end briefly, and mostly he's just going to say, this is what I saw, and we'll talk about it at the gym. And we head straight to practice right after we watch that video. Now I'll pull guys aside throughout the week or on day of game with a few clips, mostly like confidence building clips, saying, hey, don't hesitate to shoot when you get this drive and kick.
Right.
Some defensive things. A lot of times our local players will match up with an import for the other team. We'll kind of cross match a little bit. So, for an example, like Earl Clark was here earlier in the year, and, he's got a kind of a swingman game. He can put it on the deck. He can post up. He can play out on the perimeter. And so some keys to that was really extending his catches, forcing him to, go away from the basket and get him out of rhythm. And some of his tendencies, Nick Minerath is another one who will dance with the ball. And so kind of some of the absorb, contain principles that we utilized in Stockton to show some of our local guys, like, this is how you can defend these guys. So I'll kind of pull some clips as I go and watch these teams that are relevant to show some of our rotational guys. And even with the D League, we can circle back and watch those D League games to keep those guys on a good path to development, and give them a little love. But as a team, yeah, we just watch these games one time before we play it, before we play an opponent, but we do it every time. And that's our routine, that's our rhythm, and it seems to be effective. I don't think it would work necessarily in a G League or NBA environment because, like you said, the attention spans are a little bit shorter, and you can find other ways to say, this is what we have to do with this upcoming game. But for us, yeah, we're rolling with it.
So it's very interesting because we talk about attention span a lot in North America. And there's a team here in Canada that's dominated Canadian university basketball for the past 20 years. And I've heard their head coach speak numerous times about like we sell players short a lot of the time, and that there are various places in the world where they have the capability of doing which you're saying you're doing, and they do it because it's what you're supposed to do, and we don't give them the excuse not to. So it's always interesting doing this show, hearing the various perspectives from different coaches, because I don't really think there's a right way to do something. I think there's the way that works for you, and then that ends up being the right way for you. So, I mean, obviously it becomes subjective from team to team.
Yep.
What about in terms of the specific game plan for this team? What had you arrived at with these guys in terms of things like pace or how many to the glass or particular matchups that you wanted to attack? Going from the general process to the specific, what were you guys really looking at for this game?
Yeah, so we'll use the day before game practice to go through kind of our offense. We'll put in what we call freelance. So we'll put in a freelance set before every game. Like, this is going to be our free. When the play breaks down, this is kind of our go-to, what we're looking to expose on their team, whether it's a zone free or a man free. And we'll put in our freelance. We'll go through our playbook, which is pretty vast, and hammer home 4 or 5 specific plays. And most of our plays are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
We'll say we're going to run 2, 3 horns and thumb, something like this against a specific team. And then the glass one is interesting. That's one that's really no exception. We're going to send all 5 every time on offense.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to crash the glass. Try to get those extra possessions. Really,
I'm sorry.
really,
Was that one a bit of a culture shock for you when you got over, or like?
Yeah, it was, but that's kind of how I I rock with it. Really, really try to go get the ball. The offensive rebound is a great play, and if you can get an extra possession and shoot a layup or kick it out for an open 3, even if they go get, a leak out layup, we're going to get 2 layups just from crashing the glass.
Right.
We have intensity. They're going to sprint back when the possession is done. 4 guys for sure are going to sprint as hard as they can to get back in transition. And our point guard's really savvy, even though he's a young player. He gambles some, and we're working on that, but he'll stop the ball in transition in the backcourt really well, and
Nice.
and make the other team put the brakes on, because he's back there slowing down that early offense. The other guys are sprinting back, but we're good at it. We you do it. You use your common sense. If you have no chance to get it right, you're going to be getting back. But if we're kind of in the mix of it, and someone's driving to the basket and there's a kick out shot, we're watching the ball. We're going to try and go get it.
Nice. So Trey, Trey just texted me. That's why that's in my mind. Chris just put in the chat, tag up system or just crash in terms of the offensive rebounding. For those who don't know, the tag up system is a fairly common one now at this point that's been made popular, or giving credit to Aaron Fern from, is he in Australia or New Zealand? I think he's in Australia. Sorry. So is it either of those systems, or is it that system, or are you just going to crash when you're talking about all the guys to the board?
Yeah, I don't think it's a specific system, but it is emphasized heavily. Like, let's get offensive rebounds today. Let's go guards, bigs. We definitely rely on our imports to create those opportunities. A lot of it is going to be tapping the ball out. So that's the other read. If we're going to tap the ball out from the big, because they'll box our bigs out with 2 guys, so
Right.
They can't grab it, but they're going to keep that ball alive. And when the ball is in the air, we're like head of steam trying to go get it. They're really hustling to create that extra possession, to fight for the loose ball, win the 50-50 battle, and get a layup essentially off of these offensive rebound plays. And like I said, we haven't been burnt in transition with using this mindset of crashing to the glass. And I think we
Well,
are different from some of the teams, but they really do battle here for offensive boards kind of league wide. So it's a big emphasis on the other end of you have to box out, because if you don't find a guy, if you don't put a body on somebody, you are going to allow 12 to 15 offensive rebounds in the game, and that's going to be the difference when it comes down to it.
right. Well, I mean, it's interesting to me. Like, I played in a different era of basketball when I was coming up, and like everyone went to the glass. It was just what was normal. So some of these systems that are being coined or being utilized, or being stressed by coaches, are foreign to me. They're things that I've had to learn in the past few years, and then sort of weigh them against what I've known. What about so you mentioned that you have like your late clock plays or your breakdown type plays. You mentioned what you're doing rebounding wise. Were there any particular matchups that you wanted to attack, or did you want to control the pace in terms of being up tempo, slow tempo, et cetera, type deal?
Yeah, we'll defensively we'll go on day of game, like in shoot around. We'll go over our pick and roll schemes. We'll talk about how we're going to mix in our zone, if we're going to switch, local switch, or even switch on to the import. And we'll look at with our free offense, our freelance offense, that is kind of dictated towards, hey, if we create a switch here, we're going to go into the post with a local player,
Right.
type of stuff like that. And yeah, kind of again, the talent on each team. They're very familiar with these matchups. We know who we can kind of go at and who we can challenge, who doesn't move their feet well on the perimeter, and uh, kind of have to be creative, because some of our better players are downhill drivers, and so they're gonna bait them to shoot, so we can get opportunities to get open shots where they can catch and let it fly. Or we'll kind of discuss just kind of a broad, this is what we're looking to do offensively. As far
Right.
as the pace, it doesn't change a whole lot. We'll get into it as the game's going on. We're emphasizing more of, hey, let's get the ball ahead, let's kick it up, let's try to get downhill early. But with us, it's very much dictated, maybe more than any team that I've been a part of. Our pace is dictated on our defense. If we're getting stops, if we're getting rebounds, we're going to go full head of steam. We're going to kick it ahead. We're going to run the rim. We're going to run to the corners, and we get really good early offense this way. But after a made basket, it does slow down. We tend to
Right.
walk it up right up the middle of the floor. We don't get these quick hitters coming out of coming off of a make when we have to take the ball out of bounds. So I kind of emphasize it some with our point guards and our imports, like, hey, we can't drop our head, we can't walk it up, we got to keep the pace high, because as a team, when we slow down, we are kind of more vulnerable than when we're attacking, when we're playing to our players' strengths, which we really do have guys that can run the floor well. We have a fast point guard, and our big man, our imports run well, as in addition to that. So we, kind of, it's the same thing. Let's get stops and let's push it at them. It's kind of the mantra, you know.
Can any of your players push in transition?
Not necessarily. Mostly looking for the point guard. Our import Ricardo Ratcliffe, who's been in this league for a long time. He's really established and has set records, across the board with rebounding and scoring and things like that. He can get it. He can block a shot and push it coast to coast. It happens not every game, but he's able to do this. A few of our guys are really good at getting it out of their hands and then running, and getting it back to finish. We work
Right.
on this stuff in practice a lot, find the guard and run the wing. So it's kind of that 1-2, that give and go in transition that's effective more than just you get the rebound, you put your head down and go. So
For sure.
we are pretty good about finding the guard and, then getting down the court.
Do you have guys running specific routes? And what I mean by that is like, I mean, most people will say, like, we've got, whatever lane going to the corner type deal. But I mean, would you always say, Menelik is always running the left side of the floor, or Tyler's always running the right side? Do you do anything as intricate as that? Or is it like just triggers off of certain things that you see?
Yeah, we've built in these practice habits where the wings are going to cross almost all the time. They're going to run down to the corner or towards the basket, towards the rim, and then cross underneath. And we look for that shot a lot. That
Right.
baseline runner in early offense. That's kind of one of our go-tos. The big will run the rim. When those guys are crossing, he'll try to catch somebody with the screen, and then you come off free. You have a nice 15-footer, or if we can, shoot that corner or wing three coming into the fast break, the secondary break type of look. So yeah, we really do work a lot on this type of route running in our practices. So it's kind of ingrained in these guys. They know where they're looking to go when the possession changes.
Love it. What about like in game? What are things that you are tracking as part of the coaching staff? What's of importance to you, and things that are like on the box score? Like what jumps out to you? What are you basically looking for in order to make adjustments?
Yeah. So what I do, and share, kind of like give a halftime update with the coaching staff, and then as the game's going on, like I'll have a little a little scout booklet that I'm working on. We'll have offensive goals and defensive goals, and then kind of the overall game plan. And
Right.
then from a tracking thing, we're tracking 3 stops in a row, so that's a kill. We're looking for any time we can get 3 stops in a row. We're tracking paint threat threes and layups or dunks. Those are 2 things we'll always on offense try to keep note of. We're tracking counterattack points. So what I define as a counterattack point is essentially scoring, within 10 seconds of the
Right.
possession. Whether it's off a stop or a miss, being able to get the ball, ahead and get a layup, get a three, get an early pick and roll, get an early post up, kick out, something where the flow of the play never breaks. Once that flow is stalled or the rhythm is stalled and you pull it out, okay, counterattack is off. Now let's
Right.
see, if we can still score this possession. But it does get more difficult as that shot clock's winding down. So what I also track is late clock possessions. How do we do when the clock is 7 seconds or less? What's our efficiency there? And then the other thing is the first 2 and last 2 minutes of each quarter, keep track of the score, how we're
Okay.
playing in those times. I think that's a good indicator of is your team ready to go and can you close? Can you finish
Right.
out a quarter strong? So yeah, that's one page. And then we'll track the deflections, for the whole team, which is also a good indicator of how you're doing. Deflections often lead to these counterattack points. Ideal possession is you block a shot, or you get a steal and you go score, or you deflect a pass, disrupt their rhythm, they take a contested shot, and then you rebound it and you're gone. So that's where our team is at its best, where we're at our peak performance, is when we are getting deflections on defense, we're taking care of the glass, and we're pushing it at the other team. So track that, and then just track the substitutions. Try to keep an idea of how we're subbing. Some guys play heavy minutes, and we usually
Right.
play about 9 guys.
Right.
So
My next question is like,
yeah,
are you using like depth charts? How many guys are you using? Do you sort of pre-program how many minutes each person is going to play and at what point in the game they're going to play? Or is it more of kind of like a feel thing for you guys?
yeah, we've tinkered with it this year. Early on, we were riding our horses. Really playing guys. It's a 40-minute game, and they were getting 36, 37 minutes. Imports pretty much split 2020. You can only play one import at a time. So that's another unique rule to the league. So, yeah, pretty much. But then you get in, well, should we just play them the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter? Or should we pull them in and out based on how they're playing, or try to give them a break, or do we want to play one import with the other team's import and try to keep this matchup consistent? So you
Right.
get into those, but yeah, we have experimented. Like we did plan out the substitution chart, which is something we did in Stockton, and had it totally mapped out. This is how we can sub. This is how we can get a rhythm, and it didn't really mesh. Didn't fit with our style. So then just kind of okay, keep track of the subs that occur that game, and then go back and look like, was it effective? Did we get the guys in at the right time? Where can we push a button? We have a couple of energy guys that can go in and be disruptive, get these deflections. Also, we use fouls very well. Like that's a big strategy here.
Right.
There's 5 fouls per quarter. So and there's no last 2 minutes type of thing. So if you only have one foul with minute and a half left in the quarter, you're going to hack every time. Like you're really gonna use this. And that's circling back to why we crash all five is we are very savvy in knowing how to use these fouls in transition without
Right.
getting the unsportsmanlike foul, right? The clear path or the U foul where you didn't go for the ball. But our guys are heady enough to stop a break, go for the ball, get a foul, and then now it's over. Now you're half court defense with them taking the ball out on the side. So yeah, that goes into the subs also. How can we put guys in to use their fouls wisely? And yeah, again, it's using the imports is big because who are you going to play the last 5 minutes of the game? Is it going to be based on performance of that game, or is it going to be predetermined? Like this is how we're going to do it.
Chris was just asking how many imports he obviously missed the beginning. He was just saying how many imports you could have per team.
Yeah, you can have two, but you can actually have three, but you can only suit up two. So,
Right.
and you can only play one at a time. So that's kind of the way it goes. We have Ricardo Ratcliffe again. I mentioned, and he's been here so long that actually in 2 seasons from now, he will count as a domestic player, as a local player.
Oh, wow.
So at that time, he can play, and you can play an import with him. So he's going to be very valuable, even more so than now. 2 years from now, where every team's gonna really try to have Cardo so they can pair another import with him.
So is that a naturalization thing, or is that he's just been there so long that like the rule no longer applies to him?
Yeah, it's both. He's been naturalized. He plays on the national team, but that was step one. So once he starts playing with the national team, they said in 6 years he'll count as a actual local player.
Wow,
So yeah, so he's
that's
going
neat.
through that process right now, and he yeah, he's a stud. He really has embraced the Korean basketball league for his career path and done really well. It's been his only country that he's played in. And again, he's been more or less dominant. He's had MVPs, he's won championships, he's played for 4 different teams, and we're lucky to have him for sure.
Awesome. All the stuff you mentioned that you're statting, you're doing all of that you just showed us, or
Yeah,
that's
that's what I'm doing. There's not a lot of you know things that I can do as far as standing up, yelling, pulling plugs, going directly to the head coach to make a suggestion, which is, a high energy coach. G League, you have a lot of freedom to kind of stand up. Again, the communication, I'm working on it, but it is tough to have direct one-on-one communication with a player without using a translator. You
right,
know,
right,
so we're working on that. And I'm talking with our translator. He sits right next to me, and so I'm keeping up with him. He'll help me. He's got eyes on the court as well for a deflection or something like this. If I miss it, he's on it. That was Broncos
nice.
deflection. Boom.
That,
So and then yeah, we just meet briefly before the half and say this is what we got, and then he relays that message to the coaching staff.
oh, that's perfect. That's often a question that comes up for me is like, so what's the language barrier like in terms of going to different places, and how do they work around that with certain players? But that's fabulous to know that they have something in place for that.
Yeah.
So I think the only one that I like, no, it's really two questions. One, specifically, I like to talk about at the half what kinds of things you would say you mentioned. So like what would be some of the adjustments you would go in this particular game to the halftime saying? And then the last question before we can jump to video, unless somebody, in the audience has some other questions or whatever, is just is there anything you think, hindsight is 2020, like they said, and you did win this game, but is there anything you think that you omitted from your scout that you would definitely put in for the next time that you're playing them, which is just coming up real soon?
Yeah, the halftime adjustments are going to be more or less based on effort and how we're playing. Gotta, we're playing good, we got to keep it going, type of thing. Or come on, like coach will challenge them. He'll say like, this isn't acceptable. Like we're better than this. We got to play harder. We got to make things make things happen in order to be successful. We got to win the 50-50 battle. We got to give effort. Our imports, you got to post up. That's a huge one. You got to post up. You got to get deep seals. You got to get into the paint. Our guards, you can't hesitate. If you're not making the three, pump fake one dribble and shoot. Like find a rhythm. We say this a lot, about finding your rhythm on the court and being in sync, being in tandem with the bigs, whether it's punching it into them or getting into the pick and roll game. So yeah, and even sometimes there's not a lot to say. You come in and we all know we didn't play how we needed to play,
Right.
and that's kind of the message. Just by not saying anything, you say a lot.
Right.
And then the team will get that, and they'll start to pump each other up and take the court in the second half with kind of a different swag. And as far as Mobis goes, the big point that I try to be consistent with our team is not slowing down. We get into third quarters and we have a lead. This even happened our previous game. We were up 21 at half, 17 at the end of the third, and with 2 minutes left, it was a 1-point game.
Right.
And primarily, it was because we had 0 layups in the fourth quarter. We had 0 counterattack points in the fourth quarter. We had only 1 deflection in the fourth quarter. And how I mentioned, our offense, our early offense, our pace is very much dictated on our defensive activity. And if we're taking the ball out of the net and we're walking it up the court against a team that has momentum, they were going to put ball pressure on us. They're going to extend catches on the wing. They're going to force tough entry passes into the post. And if we're saying, let's slow down, it's kind of playing into the opponent's hands. And so keeping your foot on the gas, especially against a team like Mobis, who will not go away. They're very well coached. They've won championships in the past. They have a strong roster, and they've got shooters. So going into our Saturday game, if we're fortunate enough to have a lead by 3 or 4 or 5 possessions or more, keeping that pace high, keeping the defensive intensity, ratcheted up, and not slowing down when we get the ball. Just trying to play just how we played the first 2-3 quarters. Get into the paint, getting layups, paint threat threes, and that's where it all comes to, breaking the paint. It's huge, and you've probably heard it a lot on this podcast. The value of being able to penetrate the paint is immense, because you create so many options. From just that action, getting the ball into the paint, you're able to really maximize your offensive efficiency and put a ton of pressure on the defense to stop you.
I think that you would be surprised to hear that I've actually heard conflicting theories about that. And that some people, like, I believe at this point, there's basically like an overall shot selection pattern that exists, and people should be trying to get, what's first on that first,
Right.
what's second on that second, what's third on that third. Like, you go down just trying to get what you want. But it's still being met with a lot of resistance by a lot of coaches that oh, I don't care about that. I want this instead. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to challenge a coach on what they're saying, but to me, it's interesting that there's still a lot of resistance on the points per possession discussion based upon shot selection. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to jump in. If not, I'm going to jump into a little bit of video here.
Menelik, I have something to say. Good evening.
Jump, Seth, sure.
Hi, Tyler. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well.
When you were talking about the scouting class where the players just sit for just, I can imagine the situation because the two things Korean players are known is the discipline and the respect. But with my experience with the Korean basketball, with the senior and the junior national team, because I'm originally from Lebanon, so we faced a lot the Korean basketball players. So every time players subbed out, they were bowing down to the flag. So the amount of respect that they have to the hierarchy or to the team itself is something amazing. So I can imagine the situation in that room. Second, the 3-point percentage in the world before becoming very famous, the Far East Asian countries were known having very high 3-point percentage, made 3-point percentage. So is it the same today where players do take lots of 3-point shots and by taking lots of 3-point shots, I don't mean just shooting the ball like the NBA players. It comes out of a system, out of a play, and they end up having a shot at the end of the day. So is it the same or does it change? What's your experience with that?
Yeah, it's an awesome observation and great question. It is very much a culture of respect and harmony, and as soon as head coach walks into the room, everybody's going to speak, everybody's going to be on full alert, and they're going to watch very diligently the game, and not a lot of discussion when coach is making a point to the player. It's yes, sir. It's not, well, I thought this. No. And that's the way it is, and everybody's fully bought in, and it helps set a good example for the import players as well, because they see how invested this team is and how much they follow the direction of the coaching staff, and so it helps keep that in sync as well. And yeah, again, that method has been cool to just have these video class sessions and talk a little bit briefly after. But the 3-point observation is great. It's something I've kind of watched too, and try to get my mind around why we do shoot the ball well. Most of the teams, and it's not overly like 40%, but yeah, 35 to 38, 39% these teams are shooting. And a big part of it is because they get open threes. A lot of double teams in the post. So the post is doubled, he's going to kick it out, and you're going to swing, make one more extra pass. So you get wide open ones. It's not the freelance wheel and deal, let's come down, take a drag screen, and jack one. They're going to come into the offense. They're going to come off of a motion set uh, created by, a post up, a driving kick, an extra pass, very much unselfish type plays. And if it's a bad shot, they're going to know from the coach. He's not going to be happy. This is not how we play basketball. You're taking a low percentage shot, and that's not what we want. So they are taking high percentage threes, and that's a skill that is worked on with these guys, every day in practice shooting. The mechanics are good, and the guys that shoot them are the guys that can make them. So that's kind of what goes into being an efficient 3-point shooting team and league as a whole, is because the quality of shots, the quality of shooters, and the attention that the imports get when they have the ball in the post, sending these traps. So you get open looks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Let's move into a bit of film because there's a few conversations in there about shot selection for sure that are going to come up. Um, are we good? Can we see that size there?
Yeah, it looks good here.
Okay. Let's get this all set
Yeah,
up.
it's a good picture, man. Like you said it, like it's HD. It's a good broadcast.
Yeah.
The action is very visually appealing. Nice aesthetics with how the KBL does this.
I agree. I mean, I thought this game was very well presented. Obviously, I've cut out all the commercials and all that kind of stuff, but like, it was it was a great experience for sure. I mean, they're light years ahead of professional basketball in Canada right now. So, all right, first one, we got a set where you guys are defending. My note says it's an early set. It's a twirl to handoff. I just have been taught this term twirl, which was just basically like the 60 series where the first guy curls. Uh, so I thought that was interesting. I thought I would throw it in. Post filled, short roll are my notes. So we'll go through this. I'll let it play, and then I'll run it back and ask you did you have the set? Do you like the way you played it? All that kind of fun stuff. So let me try to describe this as we go through. We've got a point to wing pass on the left side. So it's left slot, really more so than the wing. There's a pin down, which they reject. It turns into a handoff and then ball screen, and it's at the step up angle, but the post is filled on the same side, which I thought was interesting for this. Short roll, second side, jump shot. So give me an idea. What do you see? What do you like about the way you defended? What could be better? Take me through it from your perspective, please.
Yeah, so this is definitely one of their staple plays. We scouted it going into the game. And big emphasis, you can see Tyler Davis, number 34. He's not letting Long set that early ball screen. Like they'll just hand it off and go right into ball screen. Davis is really working him to keep him out of being able to get in good position to set a screen and roll. So he's trying to keep that guy from getting free rolls to the basket. That was huge. That was all game. The breakdown came right there at that point of action. Number 22 stayed too long. He's same rules apply. He's not going to let this guy get behind him on this roll. We're going to do it down. We down on the sides pretty effectively, but it's just up to touch and then retreat. The guards are going to have to square the ball. And then again, that post is filled. So Davis is there. Our weak side is going to be pulled over. So it's not a huge threat if that guard turns the corner and gets a little bit of an advantage going downhill. But the breakdown comes right at the point of screen, which happens a ton in basketball. And this player for Mobis, number 31, very savvy. They have two power forwards that can play make. So he's just going to short roll, make the read, and then number 17, one of the best shooters in the league.
Right. Okay. A couple questions for you. When you're teaching your up to touch, which ends up right about in here, when you're teaching your up to touch, do you literally tell them to touch the guy and get out of there? And are they taking the same angle as the screener?
Yeah, we're kind of making an L, like with the guard and the big, like really intersecting that top foot with the big and kind of bottom foot with the guard to really corral this guy at the point of screen. That's decent position, but the separation kind of occurred a little too early. He can be one more step to his left, closer to the big, and then retreat with the hand on the big man, not letting that separation occur. If we're going to be fully committed like this, it's best to have Davis or Ratcliffe in that position because they can disrupt that pass a little bit better, really making that down become more of a trap. And then you get a deflection out of that. We're going to be pulled over. Number 5, he's at the nail. He's pulled over, but the roll is able to be, just bang, bang. Like if he had to roll all the way to the nail, that's a steal. But he's able to kind of roll out and get the pass before we're pulled over to, to disrupt that.
Are you typically a tagging team on the pick and roll?
Oh, definitely. We're going to be just how we are now, number 5 and number 3, on that, making that two-man eye. They're going to be pulled over on the weak side. We're going to tag with the low man and, really, really going to be 2 in the paint or 3 in the paint every single time on defense. Our weak side is very alert and attentive to these type of concepts.
And do you, when you are a low tag team, do you typically X with the top defender of the eye, or does it depend on the situation?
It depends. We ideally we don't let that 5-man get a clear roll to the basket, so our 4 can be there and start to empty out as the pass is being made. If we get into full rotations, there are a couple ways we can do it. We can X. We can also take the wing defender, take the ball, and the point guard is the guy who's going to be flying out to the corner. And kind of have that triple switch. So we do kind of utilize both ways.
We call that like the beaten ball defender rotation, where he would scramble out. Is it common in your league? This is the last question I have on this clip. Is it common in your league to have the post filled on the ball screen side?
I think this was kind of Long really getting a little bit hungry, wanting the ball. He was frustrated early in the possession with the way Davis was playing him. So instead of being emptied out to the dunker to create a little more space or even in the corner, he's kind of calling for the ball in this situation.
Right. Like forget the play, just I want to give me the ball type deal. Because there's a few times in this game where I saw this happen and I was like, don't usually see that happen over here. So
Yeah, and Long's a good player. He's one of the top scorers in the league. He's very tough to stop, and he's kind of has that luxury to command the ball, in certain situations.
love it. Next one I got, so we'll watch that go through. I've got a jam and under to an over. You're defending again. He pulled up in from various spots. Help pulled in from various spots is my notes. So I'll play this through and then I'll try and figure out what I meant from my notes. Just kind of resulted in a quick, easy layup here. So you guys are actually going under and jamming the roll on this, which is unique. I don't see that a lot lately. And then after he moves to the right side and then comes back to the left, you go over on the second one, and there's no help from the screen defender at all. And then as he attacks, on the what is now about to become, excuse me, I'm letting someone in. What is now about to become the help side, you got one guarding two, and they throw in behind for the layup. So where's the breakdown in your opinion here? And how would you remedy this in game?
Yeah, you nailed it. Jamming under, that's what we're calling it. That was our game plan. The Davis was not under any circumstances supposed to let Long roll to the basket. Now it's technique with Hanjun, number 5. He gets under well, but this has kind of been a talking point throughout the season, is how to engage the ball, how to kick your top leg over the screen and square the ball. He gets clipped a lot going over screens, and he gets going under. If you go jam and then go under again, this point guard number 7 is going to stop and pop, and he's a good shooter. But Davis, ideally he could still disrupt that guy coming downhill, but he's in such a tough spot because of the space that number 7 had coming off the screen that we're in trouble right now. We're in trouble. This is going to be very tough to stop at this point. And so as adjustment wise, continue to hammer home the point of, you can't let Long get below, but try to disrupt this guy's rhythm coming off, at least give him some presence, be there. But it really all comes down to the point guard being able to contain that ball, because getting under and then re-engaging and getting over is going to negate the advantage that they're able to have right here with all the space that number 7 had to kind of operate.
So I've got a tactical question then. I found this interesting in what you said. The jam and under for me, usually it's the combined threat of both the ball handler and the screen setter, but the lesser of the two threats, from the way that I've been taught it, is usually the ball handler. So you said, if he goes under again, that point guard's going to stop and pop type deal. I would assume that based upon the way that you guys have chosen to play this player, the greater threat to you is the screen setter and his role.
No doubt. Long is the primary threat in this circumstance. Early pickup points, when you do go jamming under, that's a key, is pick this guy up early and don't allow that initial screen to be set where it was, which is kind of right on the 3-point line. Let's jam an under 2 feet above the 3-point line, but that's a little bit too low. Maybe if Long was where the ball handler is right now, then it's perfect, but there was no initial kind of disruption. He was automatically going to go under this right away, without kind of forcing him to create space and then use the screen. So you can kind of see from the bench, from my perspective, as this is happening right here, I'm thinking, oh no, they're about to score just right here from this freeze frame,
Right. You use the word disruption. How stringent are the referees on the screen defender literally jamming him up the floor, like rooting him out in the post almost type deal? Because like in my league, we get away with that.
You can get away with murder out here, from everybody, the hands, the disrupting the screener, the offensive player setting the screen, the guard containing the ball. It's very, very physical. You can get away with a lot of hand checking, a lot of lower body contact. So the contact is not the issue. If you're not playing physical, you're going to get exposed.
Love it. I understand that. I'm from an era when that existed, so I get it. All right, on to the next. We've got, I think this is an offensive clip. It's one of your sideline out of bounds. And I noticed that you guys use the up the gut angled handoff a lot for both shots and drives. So I'll let it roll and I'll maybe just give me some teaching points and some variations that you have here. Ends up in a 3-point shot in the right slot. Yeah. If I go back and just for anybody who's listening, it's a zip cut. We inbound the ball. There is a swing pass to the other slot. There's a back screen or a chin screen, whatever you want to call it, that brings that player down. And then the person who sets the chin comes and gets it and is looking for that 3-point shot. It's a great set. I love it. But give me some options, how you feel you executed. I mean, don't be married to the result, obviously.
Yeah, beautiful. This is play, we call it 3. This is 3. It's a really go-to sideline out of bounds play. Number 3, Bronco, he's a superstar. He's a top-notch player in the league, really dangerous coming off screens to shoot, and he gets a ton of attention. So we have to create these type of back screen handoffs, him coming from down to up, because they'll top block him. They'll put a lot of pressure. So a lot of his actions, a lot of his shots are going to come off similar things like this, where it's back screen handoff or it's baseline runner with a stagger, and just to give him some space, and it worked perfectly. He's got a lot of space. Long gets, maybe a little contest, but this is a bucket. We'll live with this all day.
Right. So tactically, is there an advantage to you in these down to up or up the gut type actions where you come off sort of at this angle towards the slot instead of straight up towards the point?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like how we execute this. I like the spacing. This was a play that the team has been running. It's been a staple, and it's one that I'll for sure use with the spacing just as it is. I think having it there on the slot maybe gives you a little more angle. It's a good shot. And then you can get, if it's not there, you can get the rescreen with the good spacing. So then you just got slot pick and roll with the court spread, so you can get multiple looks in that position.
Yeah, I like the action a lot. You may or may not see Fleming College use that in the future as well. I'm just saying. We got another offensive one. I put in open side pick and roll and shot selection. So I think you guys end up kind of with like a 15 to 18-foot jump shot on this. And then this falls into the discussion of the shot chart selection that we were talking about before, and points per possession, and what you guys feel about this. So we're, left wing or, left slot extended, so to speak. We bring a ball screen open, so we're going towards the empty side. He uses the reject to go towards it. And then when he takes on their big, he's shooting the 15 to 18-foot jump shot. Would you prefer to see him stand behind the line, engage the big, anything like that? Or are you you're happy with the shot, move along type deal?
Yeah, I mean, the initial 4-5 screening action is really good. That's something that we kind of put in as the season went on to give our bigs some freedom to get up to set these screens without being jammed or disrupted. And then 5, Hanjun, he's very good with the reject, especially early offense, early drags, reject. That's typically a layup. He is a little reluctant to challenge these bigs in the KBL. Long is a good shot blocker. He's probably going to beat it up if he goes to shoot a layup in that moment. Right. And they've got, another 2 guys in the paint. So there's a lot of traffic. The 3, maybe at that angle off of the reject is going to be a tough 3. If it's kind of the stop, one dribble, stop and pop, that's what I would prefer. Just hard pound, left hand dribble, little step back action and knock the 3 down. But these 15-foot bank shots are a staple here. With our team especially, we have number 5, number 3, number 2, 7. They are all one dribble, stop and pop, bank shot from that area right there. So they can make it. It's an okay shot, like you said. It's a kind of, hey, let's move on. Maybe we can get the offensive board. We can kind of see here how they crash. I know Bronco, he's way back, so obviously he's not going to crash on this one. But Davis is going to try to go get it. 22 should be going to get it. The corner guy should be trying to get it. So, yeah, pretty good burst by at least our 2 bigs trying to go get this offensive board.
So On the initial action, you called it the 4-5 screening action. I would call that like a ram or a wedge, depending on where it is on the floor. But when they come up, and this is as you're engaging the big and the roll is happening, talk to me about the rules on the help side of the floor for you. Like I noticed that your other big starts to lift to try and pull some help out. Do you ever set flares? Are these things automatics or are they scripted based upon certain triggers? Like what happens there with you guys?
Yeah, good observation. Usually it's automatic flare. And I think that's what he was initially thinking of doing, setting that back screen right there. Didn't really get a hit, but it didn't really matter because the guy in the corner is going corner. But yeah, that's going to be an auto flare on whether it's middle ball screen or side ball screen. The weak side, if we're not just weak side corner, weak side wing, and it's kind of that dunker spot, you're going to come up and set a flare, and then the wing is going to go corner.
Love it. What do we got next? This is a defending against an empty pick and roll. No tag as the help is lifted. So this one.
Yeah, and we got the even 5. He got the offensive board on that one. So
yeah, there you go. You got it. I'm sorry. It was a long rebound. You're right.
You got it.
This one's an empty pick and roll. There was no tag as the help was lifted. So we get, we're left slot. Here's our pick and roll. And it's just a roll straight to the basket. Like I said, no tag because your guy that's underneath right here comes and sets a back screen to kind of screen it out and then clears. And then the dive on the pick and roll, the roll guy just ends up with a nice freebie at the rim. So talk to me about how you correct this and what are your principles about, I would call this like a shallow cut or it obviously ends up being a back screen, but cutting out the person who would tag, manipulating the tag. Sorry.
That's a good action that they ran there. Again, Davis, he's very concerned with long, so he loses complete side of the ball. He could just slide over and take the roller. He becomes the low man in this situation, and we just kind of try to squeeze on long to keep him out. Again, with the down, we don't execute our down. This should just be a down right now, and don't allow that guy to set your man up and then cross over and get to the spot where he did. 20 or 31 is a good roll man. So another breakdown with just our on ball at the point of action with the screen. But I think that little back pick Spain action sometimes we call, but it's not really long setting the ball screen. So that disrupted Davis. It took him to lose sight of the ball, takes away his rim protection. And then, just continuity with their guard and again, another good playmaking local player who was able to find that pocket and go get a layup. But, you could switch this with long and then number 3, be there to kind of sit on his bottom leg. And number 22 would end up being the guy who rotates all the way out to the corner because Davis would take the roll man. But,
right.
But yeah, this is kind of one where we could sit down and discuss it in a film session and have the guys start to talk it out and figure it out. But the expectation from our staff is, hey, just don't allow this. Just get it done, figure it out while it's going on, and we'll make an adjustment in our practice. We'll probably address it in the shoot around and that's how we'll do it. That's how we'll go with this.
So I found this one really interesting. Like I watch this a lot, trying to come up with a solution type deal. And I think shy of, really bothering the ball handler and, really getting in his view and coaching their hands and all that kind of stuff. I think this is a tough one to guard just because of, like the X5 being above the nail and like the back screen that happens and the timing of all of it. This is a tricky set to guard for sure.
Yeah.
Because you're going to give up one of these two actions, either that throw behind on that Spain type screen or that dive to the rim.
Yeah, he's a really good coach. Like I have big respect for Mobis and their coach and their accomplishments. I heard about all the success that he's had and they've had as a team before I got here, and then you can really see it by the way that they play. If you look at the shot chart this game, if that's what you're into, that they didn't shoot one mid-range shot. They shot all layups and all threes.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty much like that with them They're very system oriented, lead the league in assists, lead the league in offensive rebounds, and they're tough.
Love it. I think we got a question in the chat, so I'm going to bring that up real quick. Oh, James just saying my type of team. Analytics type guys. All right, so next one we've got, it's an offense that ends up being a spread pick and roll with a high lift in behind. And my note says, is this a read or is this an automatic? So anybody who's listening, there's a pop out to the left wing. We get into spread, and I believe, yeah, he accepts the screen, attacks the center, and then the person who is on the left corner pulls way in behind. And I would call this like a rondo or a stride stop, so to speak. And your guy turns around, finds him, automatic. He missed the shot, but just wondering, sort of like, is this a read? Are you teaching this? And are there other options in this set that you would like?
Yeah, initially it was good to get into it, to create that spacing. And this is what we do in practice. This is a drill that we've adopted, blender. It's kind of become a popular term, but this is how we run our half court shooting drills. And we'll get multiple scenarios. And this is one of the staples, middle drive, pull behind, and throw back three, so they read it really well. Again, like Q number 22, we'll rock with him shooting spot up threes all day. Missed this one, but did a great job. He didn't stay in the corner. He relocated to exactly where he needed to be and caught it and let it fly. But good spacing here.
Would your scout include where they are tagging from? Like, I think you said, no, 9 is not Bronco. Bronco was 6, I believe.
Yeah, 3. He's over there spaced.
Yeah. So this gentleman here, like, did your guys know they're going to tag from what is the initial strong side? Like, because many teams up here will tag from what is the initial help side. Would they know from your scout that they're going to pull in from something like this, or is this just a really good read by him?
Yeah, it's both. Some teams automatically, that guy is not just going to reach; he's going to take him coming off the screen. That's the way a lot of teams play ball coverage. That guy that's at the elbow right now is now going to be guarding. He's going to switch automatically, and the point guard, the on-ball defender, is going to go to the corner, and the guy on the block is now going to guard the wing. And that's kind of the rotation that a lot of teams are going to use coming out of pick and roll. If you get a good screen, like if the guard gets clipped and doesn't get through, like that's their switch. That's their rotation out of the screen right there.
Love it. So the next thing that was going to be my next question, actually. So at this point right here, this gentleman's just kind of like a high stunt type deal. Mm-hmm. Going back. Do you have visual cues to teach your ball handler he's only stunting as opposed to he's actually going to next it? Like, are there things that you're teaching him to look at, like, I don't know, read the shoulders or read the hips or whatever kind of thing, so that you know which one is which?
Yeah, we throw in some of the read and react drills, but that's that's an idea of, hey, we're gonna break the paint. We're really putting that into our mantra. Like, let's break the paint. Let's get 2 feet in the paint. We do some competitive live drills to try to get in there, and so by then you can kind of become. It's kind of second nature. You can see, is he going to cut me off and not allow me to the paint? And if so, boom, I got kick out to the wing and then extra pass to the corner, something like that. But yeah, they by this point in the season, 56 games into the season,
unreal,
47, something like that, however many, we kind of got it down by now.
Nice. That's basically it becomes a really good feel thing because you just see it so often, is what you're saying, right? We got a horn set it next, I believe. So we call this horn's chest over here, where it's ball screen, flare screen. I believe he actually curls the flare.
Yeah.
And then my question was, is the pin down an automatic after the curl?
No, it's really good with our horns. The initial setup, that's it, and there's Q actually knocking one down, but we do the back pick a lot. 22 come off, and instead of 34, Tyler Davis going to get him, he sets the back pick, and then you've got the big going to the rim. And we work on this a lot. We work on making that pass, and we've gotten some good stuff out of it. Like we're we got pretty good continuity with our horn set, and it's really automatic. There's no verbal cue. It's just going to be the read, seeing it, feeling how the defense is. If their big is going to be up, with no awareness of the back screen, we'll set that back screen and spin out and throw it right to the rim.
Right. Love it. I think next one is one on the defensive side. Pass and get action, guarding your yard. I think this was a simple one. Just basically, we end up with a drive that ends up in a layup. So we get some pass and get action, and then they twist it so that it becomes a ball screen going towards the single side, and he just gets all the way to the rim. So, bit of an eye twitch or whatever type moment. Wow, bit of an eye twitch type moment. Do you even say something at your level towards guys about something like that, or is the anticipation just basically we know we need to fix that and we need to be better on it?
Yeah, well, not to Bronco. He can do it. He knows time and score. He knows when to step it up. He can get deflections. He can get over screens. He can contain the ball. Again, 17 is a really good shooter. I think this might be 37. Also, another good shooter. He played college at Maryland. He can get stuff going, and he looks to kind of get these deep threes. Like that's kind of his style, his swag. He's not really going to put his head down and drive. So, just again, hey, he knows he's a good player. He can do it. He can defend, but he also just turned 34 years old, and hey, it is what it is. They turned the corner and got a layup. And if Davis were to go out there and stop him at that point, then it's going to be worrisome because now Long's rolled right behind him and Long got a dunk. And that's not what we want. If that would have happened, that would have been, okay, call timeout, address this, and really be upset at how we play defense that possession.
So you guys stunt ball side here, and there's no help coming from the weak side. Is that within your team principles? Because I know from the tagging, you tag low, but from the helping standpoint, is this just not one you're going to come on?
Yeah, I mean, I think being there, it's a little dicey. He can be under the rim and give up the corner three. I think I may prefer that. Again, it was a direct blow by, so he's kind of caught in between. They're going to get a wide open shot anyway. We don't help from the strong side corner and do a pretty good job of that. Footwork wise, maybe we can be a little different. And again, it's a blow by, so he's there. But, sometimes we do get into trouble with this exact same thing happening and strong side corner committing too much, and then you give up a corner three. So we do, ideally, it would be number 5, being there as the emergency guy under the rim and preventing the layup and forcing them to kick it out. And then we try to rotate and scramble and make something happen.
Love it. Thank you. Offense, sideline out of bounds. I called it the 60 series or incorporating the twirl. So stagger away with the twirl. Like this set a lot. Really just wanted to put it in and sort of give you guys a little bit of credit. But, take me through some of the reads, et cetera, for this shot.
Yeah. Again, another sideline set. We call this 2. And good job with Davis, getting into the action, swinging it quickly. And then right here, again, for Bronco, it's a misdirection type thing. It really helps free him up with curling this first one and then getting the rescreen. It's not an automatic, but when he's involved as the first screener, 7 or 8 times out of 10, the corner man is going to curl. He's going to do just as he did. We can get this pass. We've gotten it a lot for the direct layup, if they misplay it. And Davis does a good job forcing the defender to go under. And then from there, we feel really good. Just with this freeze frame right here, we feel like, okay, we got a good chance to score because he can catch and shoot. He can catch and drive right to the rim. Number 9, Jiwan, he'll continue to run to the corner. And Davis and Bronco now can play that 2-man game and just read long and kind of see how we want to continue to attack this possession.
Do you let number 9, who curls the first one, do they always exit ball side, always exit opposite, or are they allowed to read?
No, they're going to read it. There's no set rule. Like he's going to read this. He can empty back out. He can go. I prefer just go through unless it's a set play where you're going to curl and then come back to the corner. Just cut to the rim and then continue out to the weak side behind the, in the corner three. But yeah. It's going to be a feel, a read for these guys.
Perfect. We got pin down up the gut type action on the angle again. So this is just that same handoff on the angle that I was talking about. 15 to 18 foot jump shot for one of your forwards this time. So another one, just I liked the set. Talk me through some of the actions and how you feel about the shot for him at that range.
Yeah, this is low. The play is called low. And again, like good action. That's Ricardo Ratcliffe, able to kind of read what's going on. Really good with these handoffs. Like it's a big staple to our offense. And then number two, he's our stud outside of Bronco. He's probably our best overall player. He's young, hungry, aggressive. He's a mismatch on the court. And this is one that I'll show him. We're talking about shooting these threes, being aggressive, having that swag that you can dominate these games by creating shots for yourself. Like it's okay, he can make that dribble pull, but he can really make this three. He shoots it well, and then same thing. Just try to get to the basket, try to get to the rim, try to draw contact, get to the free throw line. So kind of settled here.
Love this screening action. Really takes the guy out of the play. I love it. What do we got next? We got this is basically just like 5-out delay up type action. So there's a screen to get into it, but here's your back screen and the miscommunication. So I mean, what do you guys say for something like this to fix it in game?
Yeah, it's a very, very clear. This is going to be a local player switch. We have a couple reserves in at this point. So it's game plan execution. 31, his job is really to be a glue, just be stuck to the opposing team's point guard or whoever his assignment is defensively. And Mobis knows that, and so they exposed it. And so they knew he was going to be hugging number two most likely. And so we did say we're switching locals against Mobis. So this is very clear. Communicate the switch, make the switch, and then then we'll see what happens the rest of the possession. But just by hugging that man and a veteran player for Mobis, number two is a veteran savvy point guard. So they just exposed us. They knew this was game plan execution by Mobis.
Love it. Weave to ball screen, staple for a lot of offenses. What are you trying to get out of it most of the time? What are you guys going to? So you end up with a beautiful lob down the center here. But
yeah, it's probably our highest volume play, especially in the kind of like a freestyle rhythm play. It was a free, and it was so successful that we actually named it, and it became a staple for our play. But you got multiple actions you can do, like this screen, rescreen. You can turn the corner right away and shoot. You can turn the corner and try to get downhill. You can hit the big in the pocket. But yeah, just kind of get into these, create the matchup you want. You can get any player involved in that two-man action based on just how you set your weave up. So Jung, number 7, really good playmaker from the top. He can play off ball screens. And then again with Ricardo, great screen setter. And then you see how quickly he is to go to rescreen. Like that's big right there. So
yeah,
total
rescreen, right?
Yep. And then now they have to switch, or if it's not a switch, it's still like a really draw long away from the basket. The smaller player, number 2, has no chance to stop that roll. So he cannot tag him from that point.
So working on something like this, you said it's a high volume play and it's a staple of yours. Would you do like blender type actions for this?
Yeah, no doubt. This is a blender special every day.
I love it. So would you do it like 3-on-3 or maybe 4-on-4, or would you do it all the way up? Like, how does that work for you guys?
I like to do the 3-on-3 and play it live. Primarily, it's going to be full court 3-on-0 or half court 4-on-0. And after the initial, like maybe we say this one, the guard's going to come off that screen and shoot. and he shoots, and then the big flashes and gets another catch, and he's going to give a handoff to the weak side guy, and he's going to shoot, and then the other wing's going to get the ball, and the big's going to go to the post, and we'll punch it in, and the big's going to shoot, and then the last player is going to get a catch and have one-on-one shot against, usually I'll play defense for the last shooter. And so something like that, where you layer it out, like our initial action. Okay, now continue the play. What happens next?
Right. So multiple basketballs, multiple coaches
For
involved.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love it. Defending, step up, change of the double side, no tag. So what I liked about this one, so there's a step up as we're going towards the right slot, towards the right wing. And then they change what would be the double side, right? So their player on the help side block comes strong side block, and it makes it really difficult for you guys as their roll just kind of rolls down on what is the new single side. How does your big be able to play this better? I mean, that's really tricky for him.
Yeah, again, like nice little action there. We got drug out just a little bit too much on the screen. I think ideally having to make that, that football route that he did where he kind of twirled and pivoted around, that's where, that's probably where they really got their advantage right at this moment right there.
Right.
That's how they got their advantage. We're doing our best where we got, pretty good shell right here. We can be over a little more, but then you're vulnerable because you do have a shooter on the wing there. Long is going to be a factor in the game. He's somebody we're going to have to deal with making plays like this. And then the little baseline action was good, because now they're able to, Long can make that hard pound dribble, and there's nobody there if he can beat number 2. And if not, if we fully commit, you got a little dump off, but that's his go-to move, and he's able to get it. But again, like a multiple effort, not shying away from contact and forcing a tough finish, as opposed to what you see all the time in the G League is just a power dribble dunk. Like
right.
That's good. That's continuing to go, even though he got out of position. It's a multiple effort play by Ricardo.
Love it. As far as the ball defender goes, you talked a little bit earlier in some of these video clips, but do you want him more up into the ball and forcing him into the step up type deal?
Man, I would love it. We're working on it. We really are. It's we've made some strides. Fatigue is also a factor, but be engaged in the ball and get right over that screen is an easy solution to preventing Ricardo getting dragged out like that. So it's a point. It's on my edits that I'll sit with him and show. And he's very disruptive, like I said, in transition. Gets a lot of deflections, gets a lot of steals, jump in the passing lane. But when it gets into the half court, the tendency is to kind of be flat on your feet and get clipped by these screens.
Right. I coached 1 year with one team. We called it drapes all the time because like a lot of the people on the team just got hung like curtains. It was like, all right, well, that's over there. Guarding the snake and changing sides again. So, I mean, the ball gets punched and there's the triple post screen where they go and they screen down for the opposite block. And then there's a step up near the left slot, and he snakes it, sort of becoming like an empty side pick and roll. Give me some teaching points for playing against the snake. What would you like to see done better here? Because this is a difficult one for sure.
Yeah, and I think overall, if you run it back to the jump right when the clip starts, this is where we get into his ear a little bit, and you see the pickup point is much higher.
Right.
He's disrupting this action right now. And much more engaged, much more lively.
Yeah, they actually almost throw this away, right? Like
right there. That could be a deflection. It's almost another deflection. And so right away, this is good. We're forcing them to work. Okay, extend the post catch a little bit. Now Long's going to continue and then throw and chase. But here too, he engages. This is better. We still want to get that top leg over the screen. You're playing a good player who's been drilled to snake it, and even trailing the snake, doing a good job catching up, but then just not containing the ball, kind of giving up at the last moment, to where maybe he thought that he was going to switch with the low man, and kind of came up a little short, little gamble, but I would like to see him just run through that, run through underneath that guy, make him change directions or give it up. But yeah, good play by Mobis, but acceptable for sure. Acceptable.
Love it. One of your baseline out of bounds. I just like this. Exactly how you drew it up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's a play that we'll run for Cardo because he's great with this pick and pop right here. He's great with just send the guard over to screen him and then long, try to communicate. But yeah, I mean, it happens. A lot of times we get that jumper right there. So I know Mobus was worried about it, thinking about it. Long got caught sleeping. This guard switched, for whatever reason, out onto Ricardo. And so, yeah, you put him in a pickle. The spacing was there for it to work. And we've made 15 to 20 shots this year with that baseline action. And so, yeah, you get lucky sometimes. They break down and you get a bucket.
Love it. Love it when it happens. Shameless plug. My other Twitter is at hoopblobs. So you'll probably see this guy get featured in there. Love the breakdown, love the slip. So, what do we got? Flip to ball screen type action. So there's the flip back, and then get into the ball screen action and just a little drop off. So I think this one, excuse me, is pretty tough to guard. Give me an idea of. I mean, obviously you guys have this set. You said you drop a lot of their stuff. It's another one of these instances where you go under and then over again, and he takes on your big and goes, and you do actually commit to the help for the drop off there.
Yeah, it's another tough one. Again, kind of these fourth quarter points of emphasis about being on our heels and letting the team catch up. They're kind of going on a run right now. Ideally, we just get out of the net and go back down the other way. But rewind it back to this possession and what I would like to see our guys do, and we've discussed it, and potentially it's kind of like an off-season emphasis and focus is working on this veer back. So it's an emergency switch to veer back. So you go under, over, and now number 9 never loses contact with Long. He stays attached to his leg and just rolls all the way down with him. And Davis fully commits to guarding the ball with high hands, trying to force a runner in the paint, and we're squeezing on Long to prevent that offensive rebound. But if you get that over and go, that veer back action, you don't have to rely on the man underneath in the restricted area committing to help. And then it's obviously going to be an easy layup. So yeah, over and go in my mind is the solution.
Love it. And you probably get, if he knows that he's switching, you probably get a little bit more than the step at the ball.
Yeah. Davis would be aggressive to try to cut that guy off, not let him get a line right into the paint. And the other guys are locked in, fully aware that now we do have a mismatch out there with Long. And so we're going to have to rebound.
End of game. It's their ATO, sideline out of bounds. You guys are up 5 at this point. What are you saying to your guys in the huddle while you're up? And are you giving them more than defending this particular play? Or are you giving them if we get to stop, this is what we want. If they score, this is what we want type deal?
Yeah, there's a little bit of dialogue going on. A lot of it though is going to be, hey, let's lock in, let's be calm, let's figure out, what we want to do here. If we're going to switch, if we're going to play aggressive, are we going to allow the layup just to, get the ball out and call timeout, not fouling shooter, like typical end of game stuff, but it is very, not very chaotic, not very hectic. People are going to be, hey, we know we got to close this game out. There's kind of a calmness about the team at this point. We're up 5. We feel good. Probably not a play that we've scouted. This is something that they drew up for the situation, and not going to dictate necessarily if we're going to call a timeout if they score. If we get the rebound, obviously take care of the ball. We're going to get fouled and knock down shots, but coach will kind of make a judgment call. Like if they hit a 3 here, then probably call a timeout and advance it, whatever the case may be. But yeah, just overall message is, hey, let's get a dub here. We may want to switch something, but it's going to be talked out amongst the players. Coach will just spend very little bit of time, 10, 15 seconds, maybe making a point, and then he's going to withdraw from the huddle, like retreat back, and the team leaders are going to take it from there.
So, would you guys have a team philosophy on? You mentioned it's probably the timeout is by feel, so to speak. But would you have a standard team philosophy on? I mean, there's 30 seconds left, so if they score and it's say 22-20 left on the game clock, if you advance, it actually gives them another possession because in FIBA the shot clock goes to 14. Would you guys have like a team philosophy about what to do there and how deep the clock gets, or again, is it just, as you said, more feel?
Yeah, it's a good point. I haven't heard it addressed with our team, but I noticed it last game. I mentioned we played KGC and they made a run on us in the fourth quarter. They scored a layup with like 24.3, and it cut our lead to 1. So it was then 84-83 or something like this. And we called a timeout, and we did not advance the ball. We took it out from the baseline. We got it past half court, and they fouled us, and that was good. So yeah, I think that's the way you would lean, and I would lean in this too. You got to remember it though, as a foreign coach coming into FIBA, you got to know that rule, right? Because you don't want to lose those 10 seconds to give them that extra possession. So
yeah, I've had that debate with many a coach because like we play FIBA here in Canada too, so it's one for sure. Like you said, you have to remember because some coaches don't; they just automatically advance it. They don't want the ball pressure, and if you're down 3 or down 2 type deal, it's like, well, thanks for the extra possession. Now I'm going to try and think of what I'm doing. And then you guys get a great stop here. Basically, they punch the ball and they go baseline, they throw it away. You guys make a great read and steal the ball. And then when you go back the other direction, you make your free throws. They come down and they hit a ridiculous 3 in transition. From your perspective, worried at all at this point? I mean, you're still up quite a bit. You're up 4 after this shot has gone in. Is there any sort of worry, or is it again still the cool mentality of let's just close it out and get it done?
No, not now. The interesting thing about this game, well, there's 2 points I'll make. First point is the number that we scored, 85. That's the goal every game. If you look at it, if we score 85, we've lost like 1 game, maybe 2 games the whole year. And that's the target score. It's a really good number for us. We're averaging like 83, but we only give up about 78, which is pretty. This game really kind of was a good indicator of why 85 is kind of that number that you can take a breath. But the other thing, a lot of times in KBL, like these possessions at the end of games, teams are going to kind of wave the flag. Neither team will try to score. You'll just let the clock play out. But with Mobis, where we're now 3 wins to 2 in the season series, but the point differential came into play, and that's the tiebreaker. That's the tiebreaker. So we were obviously wanting to win this game by 10 or 11 or 12 and secure that point differential, but we didn't get it. So this shot ended up being a big shot for them. They kept playing all the way through and trying to get that point differential to their favor, and they were able to do that. So the next game against Mobis, it's 3-2. We win. We get that tiebreaker automatically with 4 wins to 2. But if we happen to drop that game, the point differential, we can't make it up now. They've got it for the season. So if it did come down to a tiebreaker, they would have the advantage.
Interesting. Would that be why? So I found it strange that they didn't foul at the end of the game here to try and
for sure.
seconds.
Yeah, definitely.
So that would be why they didn't foul, and you guys were still trying to get this layup at the end there.
Yeah, they were happy with the 4-point deficit at that moment.
Love it. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to jump. If not, it's all I got. I really enjoyed your game. I really want to say thank you so much for doing this. world apart in terms of time zones, and bright and early in the morning for you. Thank you. It means so much to me. I don't know if you remember, but I actually moderated a couple Zooms you were in last summer. So I really actually enjoy your sharing. So thank you for that as well. And, just like, I don't know what else to say other than thank you. Like, this is really great stuff. Really appreciate your game. Good luck this week coming up. And, appreciate you tuning in.
And thank you, Coach. I had a blast, dude. It was awesome. A lot of fun. You're doing great things. So look forward to keeping track and watching the progress. And we'll circle back. We'll get in a gym together before we know it.
Look forward to it. Love it. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording. Feel free to hang out for a few minutes if you want. Don't feel obliged to, but thank you to all the coaches who jump on. And I said it at the end of last episode. Tyler was a surprise insert, but we got Marcus Kirkland up next. So tune in, please.